Query string is a syntax where you can send the parameter values from the request to the server. Means from the browser to server along with the request. For example, in this case, /dashboard is the request URL path. So ignore it. This particular part which is highlighted in red color, that is ID equal to 1, that is the query string. To separate between the path and query string, there is question mark. So wherever you see question mark as a part of the URL, you can consider that the left side portion will be the URL path and the right side portion is the query string, which may contain the key value pairs separated with equal to. Generally, you will supply the arguments that you want to send to server to fetch the relevant information. For example, there is a website something like udemy.com and there is a page that shows the particular course. So there are hundreds of or thousands of courses in that website. Which course details should be displayed? We have to supply either the course ID or course name, right? So how do you supply that ID or name? That is through query string. In case of GET request, the query string will be attached as a part of the URL with question mark like this. But in case of POST request, the query string will not be present in this URL, but instead the same gets present in the request body. So that is the fundamental difference between GET and POST. Let us practically try the request query string. So assume the user will supply an ID value and you would like to receive the same. So we are not interested in that request path or method. But we are checking. If the request method is getRequest, get in uppercase, then in that case, we are trying to read the query string. By default, the query string details are available in a property called request.query. Upon receiving the request, ASP.NET Core will read all the query string parameters which are part of the URL, and those key value pairs will be available in this request.query property. It is iQuery collection type, means it is a kind of dictionary. So in this query, you can check whether it contains a key called the key that you want to search. For example, we are looking for ID. So we are checking if the ID key is present in the query string in the GET request. Then we have to execute the block. Then we are going to read the actual query string value request dot. In the query string, I would like to read the value of the key, that is ID. Just like a regular dictionary, you can read the value of the particular key. So this particular value will be stored in a variable. For example, ID. You can give this variable name anything. And I would like to add the same in the response by using write async. And before that, we have to set the content type. Make sure we are writing this write async only after the header of content type. Alright. So in case of GET request, we are looking for the key called ID in the query string. In case if it is there, we are reading its value into this variable and adding the same in the response for our displaying purpose. So check it out. Always press Ctrl+Shift+I to open the developer tools. Now let's make a request. So after this localhost port number, add question mark. That means you would like to add the query string as a part of the URL, and you can send any number of values. For example, I would like to send ID equal to something, for example 1, and one more value. But how do you separate the value? It is separated with ampersand. So this ampersand is the separator between the key value pairs. So ID equal to 1 is one pair, and after this ampersand without space, another key value pair. Let's say for example, name equal to Scott. So this part which is selected here is the query string, which contains two key value pairs separated with ampersand, but no space within this entire URL. Spaces are not allowed. So press enter. We made a request, and in the developer tools, click on that request. You can see the same URL over here, and programmatically we are reading only one key, that is ID, right? What is the ID value here? That is 1. And the same has been added in the response, that is 1. So through our code, we are able to read the value from the query string. Just like how you read ID, in the same way, you can read any value, for example, name or anything. Simply, you can repeat the same syntax for reading any number of key value pairs from the query string. First, we will check whether that key value pair is present, means that key exists or not in the query string. If present, you will read it, otherwise not. Without checking, blindly trying to read the value may be error prone. In the real world applications, upon receiving the query string value such as ID, you will retrieve the relevant information from the database. For example, you have a database of courses and you have received the course ID through this query string. You will write the database code to fetch the relevant information based on the course ID and display the same in the page. In that way, you can use this query string concept in the real world applications. Of course, there is another way of receiving the argument values, that is through routing as well. So query string and routing are two different ways to get the values from the browser to server. So in this lecture, we are able to read the value from the query string, that's all.